What's up guys, and welcome back to another Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon speculation video. And today what I wanted to talk about was basically Megas or Alolan Forms. So one thing we expect to return, we expect one of them to return in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. We either expect some more Alolan Forms to go alongside the existing ones and have them be a separate universe, and oh, there are different forms we haven't seen before, woohoo! And these could be more Kanto Pokemon, hopefully not, hopefully Johto Pokemon in Alolan Form style, stuff like that, or maybe other generations as well, we'll see. Or they could, keep the Alolan Forms as they are and say, whoa, new Megas have been discovered, and have Megas be a bit bigger, a part of your journey, because obviously we only got the Mega Ring I think after the end of the actual main storyline in Sun and Moon, because obviously they wanted to keep the main focus on the Z Ring and the Z moves and whatnot, so that was fair enough. But they could this time, because it's not a new game for that, bring it forward and have it be part of the main story as well, get it about halfway through and have Megas open up to you. Hence, if they were going to do that, they have to basically add some extra Mega Evolutions to actually, allow that to make sense, rather than just being, oh, I have a Mega Ring, great, I can use the Megas I did before. This is brilliant. I'm not too excited about that. But if there were new Megas from Generation 2, 3, maybe not 3, 4, maybe even 5, and maybe even 6 and 7, I doubt that though. That would be cool, because it'd be like, whoa, I have to go and catch this Pokemon, find this Mega Stone to evolve my Mega Avalugg, I don't know, Mega Avalugg aka Antarctica. So that would be pretty cool in my opinion. So one of those I think is definitely going to happen. Both of them could happen as well, they could definitely do both, but I feel like they'll lean more towards doing just the one, because again, it's about focus. If you add too much in the game, there's too much for people to focus on, the hype sort of dies off because of it. It's like, oh great, things everywhere, I don't know what I'm excited for anymore, and stuff like that. And then when you get to actually play the game, you don't know what you want to do. It's like, okay, cool, new Alolan Form, oh cool, new Mega, yay, great, there's just too much, you have to focus it somehow. So I don't know what they'll do, but we'll talk about whether we're going to get Megas or Alolan Forms. So, in terms of sort of pros and likelihood for Megas, obviously the last time we saw Megas introduce new Megas was for a Mega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, and that was about, I guess, 2 years ago now, or maybe even, no, I guess 2 years ago, or maybe getting nearer to 3 once the game's actually released. And that's a pretty long time for a new mechanic introduced in Generation 6. It was a very big mechanic as well. It overturned pretty much the whole of the competitive scene. I'm pretty sure it's a big part of the competitive scene still, in some areas where they actually allow Megas and whatnot. So it's a pretty big part of the game now, and for them to just introduce it, not do anything for a whole generation, because if Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon are the last games of Gen 7, that's a whole generation there that haven't, we haven't actually seen any new Megas at all, or basically anything given to Megas. We had a little tidbit at the end of the Sun and Moon story, but that was basically it, nothing more. So to give a whole generation, it would then make people think, oh, they've just dropped this mechanic, this is boring. If they're going to introduce Megas one gen, regional variants the next gen, what next? Fusions, crossbreeding. It's just, people would get annoyed, like, oh, they're just making mechanics to bring up hype, and then they're just dropping them, it's no point to it. So it would be sensible for them to actually introduce new Megas in Generation 8, or Generation 7, in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, to bring that back. Any people that were really excited about Megas in Generation 6 can be like, oh, I'm going to grab this game, yes, brilliant, and then go from there and see how it goes. That's one plus to it. Another thing is they can obviously build off of the vast array of Pokemon that are already in the Alolan Dex in Sun and Moon, along with maybe a few extra new Pokemon that we haven't seen yet in Alola, and use those and give some of those Pokemon Megas. Whereas for Alolan Forms, they might have to, obviously, if some of them don't quite match up, they might have to bring some more Pokemon into the Dex, and there is quite a large Dex. The Alolan Dex overall, I think, is 302 Pokemon. Obviously, some of those are Ultra Beasts and Mars Shadow and stuff like that, so there's a bit, extra, I suppose, onto there. But I think the Kalos Pokedex, if I just check here, was 457 Pokemon, which is a lot. It was a lot in Kalos. And I don't think they want to go anywhere near there, because almost in Kalos you had too much choice. And obviously Alola is a bit of a smaller region too, so you don't want to pack too many Pokemon in too closely. So they could add some extra lines for Alolan Forms. I would imagine they would have to, unless of course they have loads of Johto Pokemon they can base off of. We'll have to see. But I feel like Megas would be easier for them as well, because we have to look at the fact that these are not a new generation. They're literally like follow-up games like Platinum, like Emerald, whatnot, etc. And we have to think about, have they ever actually introduced properly new Pokemon in those games? And the answer is no. We didn't get any extra Pokemon in Generation 4 in Platinum, Generation 3 in Emerald. And I'm not suggesting we will this time, but we have to think about the fact that Alolan Forms are very similar to new Pokemon because they are, almost different stats, different appearance, different models, everything, and obviously they have to have the normal Pokemon in the game still, so it's almost like a whole new Pokemon, whereas obviously in Mega is just a new form, which we've seen plenty of times in games like Platinum with Giratina Origin form. And of course you're going to say Alolan Forms are forms as well, it's in the name. That is true, but in terms of thinking about game knowledge, it is basically a whole new Pokemon. You have to come up with Pokedex entries for it, stuff like that. I mean, you sort of have to do the same with Megas anyway. But a Mega Plus is 1 per line, so it's like if you introduce 5 new Megas, boom, that's 5 cool ones. Whereas you can't really introduce just 5 Alolan Forms, because that would be 2 evolution lines, and that would be pretty pathetic. And I think a lot of people would be a bit disappointed in that. So of course there's a lot more to do for those rather than the Megas, which is sort of like boom, add some extra spikes, brilliant. Whereas the Alolan Forms are like, right, okay, let's think out the lore. How could it change from a fire type to an ice type? Okay, maybe it can be in the mountains. Oh yeah, mountains, that's cool. Okay, so what types are going to be? Well, we can have ice for Vulpix and ice fairy for Ninetales. Oh yes, that would, stuff like that. I have to think of plan it all out. Whereas Megas are sort of like that, and we know they have some Mega ideas left over almost from Oras. We know they wanted to do a Mega Flygon but couldn't actually get a proper design going, so maybe that could see a comeback, and maybe they got some other ideas on the scrapping board, on the table, who knows, that they could bring back for extra Megas. The same is also true though for Alolan Forms. If they had any extra Pokemon they were thinking about doing it for when producing Sun and Moon, they could always bring those forward, but they might have had a plan in years in advance and obviously have loads backed up there. But I just thought I'd have a little talk about it, and then probably we're going to dive into some speculation about what Megas we could see or what new Alolan Forms we could see in future videos, preferably when we get some more information about the game and see what we get there. But let me know down below in the comment section, do you think Megas are going to be the main driving force, or do you think Alolan Forms will continue to be the driving force of Generation 7 while Megas take a back seat? Let me know down below in the comment section, and if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. But for now, this is it for today, so I shall see you next time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, my friends.